Hi all, welcome to my YouTube channel, Know About Embedded System. Today in this video, we will understand how to generate a multiple interrupts. So in the previous videos, I have explained you how to generate interrupt from timer and also how we can generate interrupt from the external sources. In this video, we will understand how to generate multiple interrupts with the different priorities. Let us start the video here. So if you're a new viewer to my channel, kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel and gain the knowledge on embedded system. Let us start the video here. How to generate the multiple interrupts. So guys, you know that microcontroller, when we have a microcontroller, various peripherals we will have. As you know that already, we will have ADC, we will have timers, we will have UART, SPA and so on. Many peripherals will be there, and these peripherals are able to generate the interrupts. So timer is able to generate interrupt, external sources are able to generate interrupt, ADC is able to generate interrupt, and so on. Whatever peripherals we have explained in this video lecture, every peripheral is able to generate the interrupt. So if multiple interrupts are getting generated, how to handle it and how to configure those, that part we will understand. Okay, so now let us consider the scenario here. I will have two interrupts. So one will be from timer and one will be external. So both interrupts should have configuration function. So currently whatever you are seeing, this is the pseudocode. Here you can see I have interrupt configuration 1 and I have interrupt configuration 2. So how many interrupts you want to you want to generate, or how many interrupts you need to provide the service, those many interrupts we have to include in the configuration part. So example, I'm considering here interrupt configuration 1 and interrupt configuration 2. For both, there should be a proper definition should be there. That is called configuration, interrupt configuration. Second part, since we are serving two different interrupts, we should have two different interrupt service routine as well. So currently whatever you're seeing, so this is for interrupt service routine 1 for interrupt 1, and this is the interrupt service routine 2 for interrupt configuration 2. Okay, so if the interrupt generates from a peripheral number 1, obviously it will go to ISR 1 and it will execute ISR, and if interrupt generates from interrupt source number 2, then it will go to source ISR 2 and it will execute ISR and again come back and it will execute the main code. So this is how the multiple interrupts you can configure and you can generate. And if you look into the code, I will show you how to write the code for multiple interrupts. Basically, I have already explained how to configure different interrupts. At least for two interrupts I have shown you, one with a timer interrupt and one with the external interrupts. Okay, if you have not watched my previous video, I'll update the link in the description box. You go and watch the previous videos where I have explained how to configure timer interrupt and how to configure external interrupt. Yeah, so here you can see this is my configuration function for a timer, interrupt configuration function, and here I have configured interrupt timer in an interrupt mode with by enabling timer interrupt as well. So how to configure? So all these things I have already explained, as I told you already. You're going to watch my previous video. So this part, the first part, whatever you're seeing, this is interrupt configuration, and second part is to configure to enable the interrupt. NVIC enable IRQ timer 0, NVIC set priority timer 0 interrupt, and then priority as 1. This is very important. You have to assign proper priority and you need to enable. So you need to enable the interrupt and also you need to assign the priority level to the interrupt source. Okay, so if you assign the priority, so it will whenever processor executes and whenever there is an interrupt from the timer, so obviously the processor will consider timer interrupt as a higher priority. Okay, so this is the first point. Second part of the code is related to our external interrupt. Even this also I have explained in the previous video. You go and watch. I'll update the description. I'll update the link in the description box. Here you can see this is my external interrupt configuration, and here I'm this part, the line number 43, 44 and 45, these three lines are going to configure your P2.12 as an external interrupt. So what is the meaning? In detail I have explained in the previous video. Okay, then the second point here you can see these two lines is 47 and 48. 47th line is going to enable the external interrupt, and also 48th line is going to assign the priority as 2. So for timer we have assigned priority as 1, and for external interrupt we have assigned priority as 2. Okay, so it's very simple. So if you higher the number, lower the priority. If you lower the number, higher priority. Timer 0 is having higher number, lower number, highest priority. External interrupt is higher number, lower priority. So even you can do vice versa as well. So these two functions are used to configure the interrupt. And the third function what I'm going to show you is interrupt handler. This is my interrupt handler. It's nothing but it's similar to our previous code. So in this interrupt handler, it's nothing but timer 0 interrupt IRQ interrupt handler. And here I'm going to print something. And then I'm going to clear the interrupt. Line number 54, it is mandatory to clear the interrupt flag after executing the ISR. Okay. So similar to that, I need to write a ISR part for your external source, external interrupt IRQ handler. And then I need to print something here, and then I'll clear the external interrupt flag. So these four functions are going to define the interrupt. First two functions are going to configure the interrupt. Second two functions are going to handle the interrupt service routine. Right? And then coming to the main code here. So I need to do the declaration, prototype declaration for timer 0 and prototype declaration for your external interrupt configuration. And then this is my main code, and I'm doing a basic block configuration, evart configuration, and then timer 0 configuration I'm calling here, and then external interrupt configuration, and then just go in the while of one, and I'll print something called as normal. So whenever there is an interrupt or whenever there is a time elapse from the timer, it is going to generate interrupt, and then it will print the string which is defined in the timer ISR. Similar to that, whenever there is an interrupt from the external source, it will print the ISR string which I have defined in the interrupt handler function. So this much is the code. So it's not much complicated, only you should know how to configure the interrupt and how to set the priority for your interrupts. Okay, so now I'll show you output, how it looks like. So I have already flashed the code, and directly I'll show you the output here. Yeah, now you can see. So yeah, now you can see. I'll not do anything to the board. So by default, you can see that timer interrupt will get triggered for every 5 seconds. Correct. So why it is generating interrupt? Because we have configured timer for every 5 seconds. Here, whatever you are seeing, we have configured timer interrupt for every 5 seconds. That's the reason. Even I don't touch to the board, or even I do not generate interrupt from the external source, it is going to execute ISR for timer for every 5 seconds. Every 5 seconds, it is going to generate interrupt. Okay. So now I will generate external interrupt. Let us see what will happen. Now you can see I'm pressing the switch here in the board, and I'm able to generate the interrupt. Now you can see. So I'm pressing, and I kept it in a rising edge, and now you can see. Now you can see, observe here. So even the beauty of our NVIC is, even though external interrupt is executing, the timer interrupt will go and overwrite your, it's going to override your external interrupt to interrupt, EINT2, because we have configured external interrupt as second priority and timer interrupt as first priority. So first priority interrupt will have a lower number interrupt will have higher priority, and higher number will have lower priority. That's the reason, even though the external interrupt is executing its ISR, the timer is going to override it, and it's going to execute the higher priority interrupt. Right? So this is called as context switching. it's going to pause your lower priority interrupt, and it's going to execute your higher priority interrupt. So this is what I wanted to show you. So here, so now timer interrupt, and observe here, I'm going to, yeah, you can see there. So I'll just continuously press. So yeah, so now you can see this is an external interrupt. So in this way, you can able to generate multiple interrupts, configure multiple interrupts, and then generate different interrupts. I hope this video is clear. So if you feel this video is an informative video, please click on like button and subscribe to my YouTube channel.